Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us at the Vegetarian Summit. We're super excited to kick off the next session on the future of plant-based food. We've got Gregory Struck of Noops, Bernat Ananos of Eurafoot, and Aylon Steinhart of Eclipse Foods. I'm going to give each one of them a couple of minutes to talk about their companies, their products, and how they got to where they are today. So why don't you start us off, Aylon?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me, Noah. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, guys. So my name is Aylon. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Eclipse Foods. Eclipse has been called by the press the impossible foods or beyond meat of dairy. And we think it's an apt description because what we do is we make plant-based dairy products that are indistinguishable from their animal counterparts. The way we're able to do that, because it's kind of a big deal, is we've actually created a milk. It's the first ever plant-based milk that functions like a dairy milk. So in the same way that you would use a cow's milk to make cheese or sour cream or ice cream or any other dairy product, use our milk with that same process. And the end result is something very special. It's the first ever plant-based dairy products that have the taste, texture, and functionality of dairy, but happen to be made from plants. The reason that we're doing that, right, is because if you look at Beyond the Impossible, they've really proven that if you make a product that's extremely similar to its animal counterpart, then you bring in not just the vegan consumer, which we love, and I'm a vegan myself, but we bring in the mainstream consumer. And so instead of targeting that like 18% of households who are currently buying plant-based dairy products, we're actually targeting that 82%, that $100 billion dairy market, and obviously in that making the biggest impact to transform our food system from an industrial animal agriculture based food system to a plant-based food system, and thus achieving our mission, which is to make a more sustainable, healthy, and humane food system. Do I have a few seconds to talk about my background and my co-founder's background? No.
Let's do that in the next round. Actually, I like the idea of your company and your products first.
All right, that's Eclipse. We're starting with ice cream. If you want to try it, very easy, shop.eclipsefoods.com. You can get it shipped directly to your door. We actually have a bunch of really cool chef collaborations happening right now, from Michelin star chefs to rising star chefs. We've created pints with them, and then you can also get our signature pints. Pro tip, the cookie butter is the fan favorite. So yeah, you can try it and then send us an email and let us know if it's actually indistinguishable. We think so.
Awesome. Bernat.
Yeah, I'm Bernat, and I'm the co-founder of Eurafoot. We are from Barcelona, and we created the company in 2017. And what we do is we do plant-based meats from the Mediterranean, because we were seeing many options were coming from the US, the UK, the Netherlands, but no one was doing this from the Mediterranean. And we are very well known as food lovers. So at the end, Mark and me, which is the other co-founder, we came from the animal rights activism and social activism. But we found each other in a moment where we were very frustrated because we were putting consciousness to people. But at the end, these people, when they were going to a supermarket or to a restaurant, they just found like green salads, white blocks of tofu, like boring stuff. And I always say these kind of things, even though if I'm a tofu lover, kind of might create traumas in the future, and so put more barriers in the like acceleration of the food transition. And we've seen that through plant-based meats, it was the best way to place solutions in the markets, because we did not say, okay, let's do plant-based meats. We said, okay, we want to have a great impact in what we care, and this is animals, planet, and the health of our people. And when we had all these on the table, we said the best way is doing like plant-based meat. There is no single way that has more impact in this. And so we have to do it like in a very attractive way, because we were used to, in the US, you are more used to like cool brands in this spectrum. But in Europe, like 4 years ago, it was like just boring stuff, like white packages with lots of letters with 17 languages because they were delivering this from China to the US to Chile. And it was like, no, you will never attract more people than vegans to eat this. So we have to break the barriers, which means being very tasteful, but also being very attractive and community building. Because at the end, we like to be part of something else than just the product. So that's why, like, on 2017, we launched chicken-alike products. Then we launched also beef with meatballs and burgers. And in the following 2 months, we will be also launching the first pork-alike products. So at the end, what we want to create is the whole range of plant-based meats from a Mediterranean perspective with this community building behind and in parallel of everything we do.
Love it. Gregory.
Noah, thank you very much for having me. Really excited to be on this panel and be a part of the mission of Vegpreneur. And certainly thank you to everybody for taking time out of the weekend to be here. You know, I think we all get enough Zoom and digital time, so it's awesome to see everybody taking time to be a part of a mission that's bigger than themselves. And yeah, a little about me. My name is Gregory, CEO and founder of Noops. Noops is a platform that creates plant-based indulgent products, really disrupting snacking across multiple categories. We're looking at conventional categories and saying, how can we do it better than the incumbents? And the first opportunity we are looking at is pudding. It's about a $3.5 billion category, largely controlled by legacy incumbents. Think of Kraft Heinz with Jell-O, and think of Conagra with Snack Pack and Hunt's. Think of Land O'Lakes with Cozy Shack products. And me personally, I was excited about this for numerous reasons. You know, to touch on what Bernat had mentioned, health, planet, animal welfare, huge reasons and inroads why we started looking at this category and thought that it would be really interesting to come to market and be a challenger brand to disrupt these legacy incumbents with an animal-free, dairy-free product that actually could be beneficial to the population. The overarching theme of the company and why we get up and do what we do every day is to help people eat better and live more fulfilled lives. We fundamentally believe that if you achieve that, you also achieve benefit for the planet. And from the perspective of myself, having 3 kids, being a father of a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 7-year-old, it used to just completely, really, it was as perplexing is the right word to use. I would take my kids to birthday parties, and week after weekend, the playbook was exactly the same. It was pizza, cupcakes, candies, cookies, soda, all junk, all animal byproducts, all lack of nutrition. I wondered from such a young age why we're starting our young ones off this way and what we can do to change that course. So overarching it at the highest level, recognizing we're all human beings, we all are always going to be pleasure-seeking creatures. If we are going to seek pleasure, why don't we make food that's better for the planet and better for humans? So that's what drove me into pudding. Personally, myself, having those themes in my head was one thing, but I was struck with cancer and a rare genetic disease about 2 years ago, just after leaving Hungary, my prior company. And during that time, I made the switch out of dairy products to a plant-based diet. I had a diagnosis where they didn't know if I was going to live or not. Really reshifted my thinking and how I was doing things. Really became hyper aware of what I was consuming and switching to a plant-based diet. And in turn would longingly want yogurt. I never lost my sweet tooth when I was going through treatment. So I would go to the supermarkets and look at the yogurt aisles, and nothing that I saw was exciting to me in the plant-based space. One day I caught a glimpse of pudding out of the periphery of my eye, and I said to myself, wait a second, this is interesting. Can we do something amazing here? And can we impact humanity and the planet? And by the way, could I solve a need for myself? And that was to keep my sweet tooth. So Noops was, we launched officially 3 months ago. We had a really good pre-launch. We sold out in the first 2 months. And right now we've taken all those learnings and we're currently in reformulation and gearing up to have our official launch in January of this year. So yeah, really, really excited to be here. And thank you again.
Very exciting. So let's dig in. Aylon, tell us about your background as an entrepreneur and then talk about your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just answer, there was a question here in the chat asking what our milk is made of. And yeah, we're 100% plant-based. And I'll explain how we can do this all with plants. And the base is it's a blend of plants, right? We looked at the molecular level of milk and we said, how can we actually replicate this in a functional way? And there's no way you could just do it with one plant, right? Like I can't do it with like an almond milk or a soy ice cream or a cashew cheese. We have to bring a blend of plants together to recreate milk's functionality. And so it's actually oat, potato, cassava, and corn, which people are always like potato ice cream. But it works. So how do we know, how do we even come to this? So my background is, previous to starting Eclipse, I was at the Good Food Institute. Probably many are familiar here. They're the leading nonprofit in the alternative protein space. And I went there to help start their innovation department, which meant really two things. The first was incubating other brands. So we ran an incubator for the plant-based, cell-based, and fermentation-based space. So helped dozens of brands actually get funded, started, go to market, etc. And then on the other hand, was the evangelism of our space. So again, this for me has always been about the mission, about creating a food system that actually works for us, for the planet, for the animals. And so my job was to go to Harvard, Stanford, MIT, Berkeley, all the best universities, both business schools and medical schools, and talk about the opportunities of plant-based and cell-based entrepreneurship. And so trying to get companies that, just like Eclipse and Nukes and Huera, that will transform the food system. And we did a pretty good job. There's so many more companies this year than there were last year. So I'm not taking all the credit, but I'm saying it was really good to start seeding those things out there. So that was really exciting. Before that, I co-founded a software business, but at one point kind of learned about the harms of industrial animal agriculture, said, I don't want to do this anymore, stopped eating meat, dairy, eggs, all animal byproducts. And then about a year later said, man, like, this is not enough. I can't just not eat the way I disagree with. Like, these are impending existential threats. I have to do more to change this world. And so that's when I left software to go into alternative proteins. And then from GFI off to Eclipse. Now I'll talk about my co-founder, because that's a good explanation of how we even figured out this blend of plants to replicate milk. My co-founder was the director of product development at Hampton Creek, Just. So he created a lot of products that probably you all enjoy, like Just Mayo, the cookies. You saw the team that did the Just Egg. And so he's done this many times, taken products and made them indistinguishable from their animal counterpart. Before that, he was a chef. So chef staged at a total of 16 Michelin stars around the globe. I probably haven't eaten at 16 Michelin stars my entire life. Twice nominated James Beard Rising Star Chef, named Zagat's 30 Under 30, and always in molecular gastronomy. So how do we take science to make food do things we don't actually expect the food to do? So when I got the opportunity to partner with him, and he's a mission-driven guy, he had just recently left Just, and I was obviously leaving the Good Food Institute. I said, oh man, like, this is the guy who's gonna transform our food system, like he already has. So that's exactly what we're doing, is working together to really disrupt dairy and create dairy products that just happen to be made from plants.
Very, very exciting. Bernat, what's your background, and then talk about your team?
Yeah, my background is communication, PR, marketing, but I think what my background saw is that I always was, when I was having a new experience, professional experience, I always thought I wasn't in the right place. And I always felt very frustrated because I tried so many things. And for me, my dream at the beginning, it was institutional communications. And like at the end, I got into the European Parliament, and for me, it was a dream. Like, I'm going to push the change from here, and I'm going to do so many great things. But then I saw, like, guys, this is very slow, like so many people pushing. I'm not seeing an impact here, like at least not the impact I want to have. So, and I was always like this activism that sometimes you say, oh, businesses are doing the bad, you know? But then at some point when meeting Mark and starting to talk about creating Eura, I feel like you can do good from business as well. I mean, businesses are not bad. It's just some like the like most, like not most, but many businesses like do bad. But we can create a business that has a great impact and that like helps to protect what we care. So that's the switch I've done that I think made me like realize that, yeah, let's create a business and let's do what we want to do it in the way we want to do it. And Mark like comes more from the social activism and organizing like animal equality in Catalonia, like organizing things. But I would say he's an asker and someone that like knows how to surround himself with mission-driven people. So he was like learning very fast. And at the end, like after a year, he was like very good at food technology and like textures and all the ingredients you need to like do stuff and how to create an R&D team. So I would say he's an asker. But now that we are 35, because we are like 3.5 years old company, 35 people now, we have people from all the backgrounds, people that are vegans and also non-vegans that are asking themselves like, okay, should I change this? No, should I change that? But at the end, we all share something that is the mission. Even though it's sometimes it's difficult to imagine the mission from a non-vegan, and a lot of people ask us, oh, you should just have vegans working. And I said, no, I just want the most like excellent people in the team, vegans and non-vegans, because I wasn't vegan like all my life. So I want that Bernat that at some point then changed thanks to something, no? So I want excellent and motivated people. And so, yeah, I would say like multidisciplinary team, but with a shared mission.
Very cool. Gregory.
Yeah, my route's a pretty interesting one. I was born in South Africa and lived there till I was 13. I remember when I moved to this country, there was a huge emphasis, mostly probably propagated by my parents' influence, on how great America was. We were the most advanced country in the world, the wealthiest, the biggest technology and army. And I remember being a newly minted immigrant and sitting in high school in South Florida and learning that heart disease was the #1 killer of our people by a landslide. And shocked me in learning that this great country that I was living in, we could be so great in aspects of our society and be so horrendous in other aspects, and very quickly made the connection that what we're feeding our citizens is killing them. You know, forget even about what we're doing to the planet. That's a whole other topic. So I became really interested in food science. I'll tell you right now, I was a sophomore in high school, and I remember thinking, I'm going to become an entrepreneur. I'm going to open up a restaurant that serves amazing food. And that was always kind of the idea for me. So I went to Northeastern to their entrepreneurship program, graduated business school, and followed my wife to New York City, and very quickly enrolled in the French Culinary Institute with the dream of becoming a restaurateur. First day of class, I'm running into the elevator. I trip and I spill hot coffee all over a gentleman. It was a very serendipitous interaction. He turned out to be a guy named Rich Corain, who's Danny Meyer's business partner. And I met and was mentored by him throughout my tenure there, and graduated the French Culinary Institute and went to go work for Danny Meyer. Started off, I begged him to open, to be a part of 11 Madison Park, and he chuckled at me and said, we have this new concept we're opening up called Shake Shack, if you're interested in flipping burgers. And so I said, you know what? He said, we'll pay you $6 an hour, and let's see what you're made of. You can flip 3,000 burgers a day. So gladly, I deemed them the gold standard in hospitality and food and beverage operations. Went to go work there. I was there for about 1.5 years, and then I switched over in operations to back of the house at 11 Madison Park. Was there for about another year and a half. At that point in time, I decided, hey, I want to go and open up a restaurant. That's my calling. I love people. I love operations. It seems to be a really good mix of both. Very quickly, reality set in, and when you're looking at retail space in Soho, New York City, and it's $400 a square foot, you understand that from a risk aversion perspective, it makes zero sense unless you have a couple $1 million to throw against the wall. So that crushed my dreams of being a restaurateur. But very, very quickly, I thought, hey, maybe I could get into the consumer packaged goods business. That would be another way to have a handle on food and influence what people are eating, but just not do it through the restaurant side of the business. So spawned by the 2007 sale of vitamin water to Coca-Cola, I thought it was this better for you thing was really, really interesting. And could we come to market and make a better for you product? So in 2010, myself and my brother and a partner, we all got together to make a ready-to-drink iced tea that we coined Long Island brand beverages. We were going to be the vitamin water of iced tea, ready-to-drink iced tea. So think of reverse osmosis water, organic certified ingredients, etc. Was the co-founder and COO, led that company to about 2,000 doors of growth, and 2010 through 2013, it was my first foray. You talk about like learning on the fly, building the boat as you're in the water. It was a great experience. Ended up moving away from Long Island brand beverages, sold my stake and my brother's stake in the company to a private equity group in 2013. That solidified for me the idea that I wanted to stay with better for you products. At the end of the day, better for you iced tea is good, but make no mistake about it, you're still selling 40 grams of sugar in a bottle to somebody. So how good can that actually be, right? So we quickly, my buddy had just sold his company to Groupon. He was looking for something to do. Him and I got together in 2014, and we wanted to start it was right at the time that Sweetgreen was getting off the ground, and we wanted to start a concept very similar, but with only vegetarian, only vegan. Very quickly, again, the rental issue came into play. Pivoted out of that model and started a company called Hungry Root. I was the co-founder and COO of that company. Was there for first 4 years. Amazing story. Wrote the playbook for the company. First 70 employees. Built our facilities on the East Coast in Long Island City, the West Coast in San Mateo, California. In late 2017, when the company pivoted out of company-owned operations into working with best-in-class co-men and away from a meal kit company into more of a online grocery platform, I had a good opportunity to leave and start and go into what was next. And ultimately, it was good timing because I was hit with cancer and systemic mastocytosis in 2018. So really used 2018 to turn my life around, get my health back in check, stop drinking any type of liquor, any type of, it was a major recalibration for myself, and really cemented my wanting to live this plant-based lifestyle. And through that interaction, Noops came to the forefront, and Noops was born. And so that's a bit about my history. Failed restaurateur, turned into a CPG guy, and really exciting to be here. Thematically, I've always looked at taking everyday comfort foods that we consume as Americans and figuring how can we make them better with plants. What are the attributes that those products need to have to shine, and really top level mission, like create products that people love that's not going to hurt them and be great for the environment. In terms of team, I'm the sole shareholder and CEO right now. We're a retail first company, so we have omni-channel capabilities. But for me, it's really a simple equation. Before you attain product market fit, it's very hard to go to investors and raise a few $1 million and tell them 80% of that CapEx is used to hire employees before you've even attained any type of product market fit. So in today's environment, I'm kind of navigating the ship with best-in-class service providers from around the country. And, I think COVID has just exacerbated that ability to do that. So right now it's great. It's good. We're just a newly minted company. Very excited for what the future holds in terms of our product roadmap. I'll just touch on that for a minute. We opened up with an oat milk pudding that is an incredibly decadent, rich, creamy product. very quickly down the pipeline is to look at other alternate dairies in that category in the cold case and see where we can disrupt. And we're also slowly right now coming to R&D terms with a non-animal derivative of Jello. So that's kind of like some top secret stuff we're working on. I'm happy to share it with everybody. Jello is a $700 million category for Kraft Heinz, and we think that there needs to be a product that's made without gelatin and without animals. So really excited about that as well. It'll be an innovation you'll see some point next year. But for right now, squarely focused on disrupting the pudding category.
Amazing. So I have some specific questions for each of you. So Bernat, I believe you were coined the fastest growing startup in Europe. Can you talk a little bit about how Europe is going plant-based and what you've seen in Spain and beyond?
Yeah, this is a very nice headline. Yeah, like it's crazy. Like first I'm going to speak about Spain because like if we compare it with the Scandinavian countries or the UK or Germany, we were very far behind 4 years ago. Like people were treating us like, you crazy guys. Here we eat meat, guys. And we eat very good meat, and meat is the center of the table. So like when we were going to any supermarket, any restaurant chain, they were like, nah, Spain isn't ready, Spain isn't ready, Spain isn't ready. But now, like all these people said that have or Eura or Beyond or any other option that is in the market. So it was a boom, like crazy. And here I think something that have happened is one, like content creators like have pushed the category very fast. So if the people you like, the people you look, the people you dream to be, or the people you find fascinating or interesting, do something, try something, and the result is good. I mean, it's very easy to introduce it. And something else, I think it's here we are 4 men, and like there is a saying that plant-based food makes you feel like less masculine, and there are many people like feeling like many guys having this problem and not trying these products because they think, oh, if I try plant-based, I'm losing masculinity. They will tell me something. And something that has happened the last years is a lot of sport players like footballists and people like Lewis Hamilton turning plant-based and eating products like Eura, Beyond, or any other product in the market. So I think this has like made like a huge change in the category. It's not about vegans or non-vegans. It's about like more than 40% of the people in Spain reducing the consumption of meat in a very traditional country, like in terms of food and culture. So I think pretty good numbers. And what we are seeing in other markets like the UK, I would say is the most like developed. It's crazy. I mean, like Tesco was saying like 4 days ago that they want to increase the demand of these products by 300% this year, where like it's like how fast it's changing. And we are changing that fast because there are many products and it's being every day a bit more accessible and democratic, where I think we have like a huge challenge as a sector. And I think it's not just plant-based meat, it's plant-based sector. We're still like far from pricing than the traditional alternatives. So if we want to make a change, if the mission, like we are mission driven, we have to like make efforts to reduce pricing. And sometimes this means like reduce your margin in a way, but like making everyone like have the chance, so the freedom to choose, because if not, we're just part of an elite of people that can consume these products. And I don't want to be part of this. I want to be part of the solution. So I think one of the main challenges we have, apart from the nutritional side, there are some challenges there. I would say the accessibility and democratization of the products are a big challenge that I think we are all working on, I guess, hopefully.
Very cool. Aylon, I'm curious, as a founder who also has dabbled in other industries as a software founder, what challenges are you facing as a food founder as opposed to a software founder or a fashion founder? Are there specific challenges and how do you overcome them?
Yeah, this one is fun. I mean, primarily it's what our investors call moving atoms, and some of our investors include Alexis Ohanian, who's the co-founder of Reddit, Paul Buchheit, who created Gmail. Y Combinator is the leading tech accelerator in the world. So a lot of these folks are less used to dealing with moving atoms, as it were. I mean, we're lucky to have many amazing food-based investors as well, like Seth Goldman, who's the chairman of Beyond Meat and the founder of Honest Tea. I'm sure, Gregory, you probably dealt with Honest Tea when you were in your tea days. And Eric Patel, who is former executive at Dryers. Anyways, there's the two sides of the coin there. But the challenge of moving atoms is real, right? I mean, when you have to create products, physical products, and you have to put them into physical packaging, and you have to ship them around, those are very, very distinct challenges that make this business hard, like really hard, right? And from a very early day, after we made our product and we said, okay, this product is amazing, I talked to one of my very close founder friends, and he said, Aylon, you only took the first step here. Like, Eclipse is now an operations business, and Gregory was saying that, right? Like, you're a COO, like, that's your experience. Well, now CEO, but it really is an operations business, and it's about finding that right co-man, and it's about finding the distribution network that's actually going to work for you, and it's about getting the ingredients and getting enough of those ingredients, and all of these challenges that in software, it's like, all right, we have a group of really hardworking coders, and they can write some code and launch it right away, and we can see if it works, and if it breaks, then we go and we iterate, and it's just longer lead times. I would say we're very, very lucky in that we do have these experts around us in the food world that can advise us, and people on our team like Thomas, my co-founder, who has really done this before. Yeah, I mean, we have folks from Just, and from Dea, and from Beyond Meat, and from Sir Kensington, and from our X Bar, and so there's a lot of food expertise in house, which is extremely helpful for making it all happen. But yeah, I think those are the unique challenges.
Gregory, a question for you, but anyone is welcome to answer. As you grow and you raise money and you get other team members involved, how do you ensure that all your stakeholders are dedicated to your mission of creating plant-based products? How do you you retain that control?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in terms of really being an organization that lives your mission, vision, and values, and ensure that they're ingrained in the fabric of what you do every day, that's ground zero. Like, you know, when a company comes into an organization, you can hire for talent, you can hire for skill, really most important, culture fit. And do you really understand what we're trying to do here? Do you understand the fabric of our organization? Can you endear to be a key architect with us? And that's vitally important. I think that everything else can become systematic, right? You can understand organizational design, you can understand structures and hierarchies, or whatever type of organization you want to run. You can have protocols, you can have anything around systems, but fundamentally, you want to hire for culture, right? You want to hire for fit, right? For us, that's vitally important. And it's keeping that top of mind, leading with that in every decision we make, revisiting the mission, visions, and values, and really, you know, if it's in the boardroom, if it's in the office, really also living that, right? Not just talking about, you know, what's the classic saying? Don't just talk about it, you know, be about it, right? So we want to ensure that as leaders, as the CEO of the organization, as the shepherd, as the conduit internally to the employees and investors and externally to the consumers, we're not just talking about it. It's something that's happening in our actions, in our thoughts. It's ongoing. It never stops, right?
I'd love to open it to questions. There's a question tab on the right here. If anyone has questions, please pop them in there. This has been a great conversation so far. My question, I guess, now is, what advice does each one of you have to founders in this space? Are there opportunities that you see that have not, gaps that have not been filled, companies that you would like to see launched? What advice do you have? And maybe we can make this kind of a lightning round. So let's start with you. We haven't heard from you in a while. Bernat.
Yeah, I would say, I think it sounds like something that everyone can say, but I think if you find a mission, then you can, like, as Rihanna said in a song, work, like many times, because you will have to work many times, a lot of times for many years, if you care about that mission. So find that mission. And something that, like, lately a lot of people say, yeah, there are many companies in the plant-based and you're so many, and then you are competitors. And it's like, we are very small, like, as a sector. We still so many more people in, and I would love to see more allies, because at the end, I would never see Beyond Meat, us, or any of you guys as a competitor. I think if we are mission driven, we are all allies, and we are very few still. So, like, go and try it and try to make it better than us. I always say, like, yeah, try to make it better. Do a better Mediterranean plant-based meat company. And so we can go to sleep and rest, and the mission is going from another company.
Great.
And something, just to add, something that I think is very important is, as plant-based companies, saying we have to deliver crazy good products and stop, like, delivering boring, tasteless, expensive things, to be polite. So I think it's something very important to work very good. If you say you are plant-based meat, you have to deliver the plant-based meat experience, like the meat experience. If you deliver like I don't know, like a cheese, you have to deliver the best cheese you can make, so people see that cheese as an alternative, not like, oh, it tastes like coconut oil, it's boring, I would never taste it again, because this person has, like, a huge berry then. So I would say, like, put the best products you can in the market, because it helps everyone to, like, transition faster. Because once you try it, once the taste is very good, the pricing might be a bit expensive, but I have a good impact. I think no one will stop, like, plant-based from being the norm.
Aylon?
Yeah, I want to echo so much of what Bernat just said. It's so true. Like, we are at a very, very, very early time for the plant-based meat and plant-based dairy and plant-based egg industry. Like, the market share for these products globally is like a fraction of 1%. Even in the most advanced markets, we're talking like less than 1% market share. So do not listen to people who say, oh, this is a crowded space. Well, do you know how many meat, dairy, egg companies there are out there? And the fact is that this rising tide is lifting all boats. The better the products get, the more that mainstream consumers come over and say, you know what? I am going to choose this. Have you guys watched Game Changers? Like, go watch Game Changers. Share it with all your friends. Like, this, it's a movement that is happening that is absolutely getting, again, that rising tide lifting all boats. Like, the better the products get, the more companies there are creating these amazing products, the more we can achieve our mission. I truly do believe that. And then to Bernat's point as well, if you're going to go out and make something amazing. Like, do something really, really big or really, really different. Because there's two things. The first is, I totally agree that we have to make amazing products, right? Taste is everything. This is food in the end. People are not going to sacrifice. Mainstream consumers are not going to sacrifice just because it's something that's better for the planet or better for animals. And that's why I honestly feel extremely proud knowing that our products, we're still in the early days, but I know that every time that an omnivore eats an Eclipse ice cream, we're changing their perception of what the world can be like. Because they taste the ice cream and they say, holy shit, this is plant-based? How's that possible? I never thought that was possible. And it's a ground game. Like, we have to change hearts and minds one scoop at a time, which is really fun. And the other thing I would say is, like, let's do really big things. Like, the world, we talk about competition, and of course, like, these are massive categories. Dairy is $100 billion category. Meat is over $1 trillion category. Like, the 100 billion in the US, sorry, and over $1 trillion worldwide. But there's so much out there. We don't need another almond milk. We just don't, right? Like, what we need is, well, all the other categories that haven't been truly explored, and really novel things haven't been done in them. So let's take over seafood. I know there's a lot of companies coming out. I had this incredible plant-based seafood. If you're in Oakland, there's this new place called Salvage Hasu, which you have to try. It's so good. But there's just so much innovation, and we need to bring it to the masses. So that's what I would say. Do something really big.
Love it. Gregory, any advice for founders, any opportunities you see?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think before you get involved in anything in life that you're going to pour your heart and soul into for the next decade, make sure you have a purpose and a North Star. That ultimately is going to be the light that leads you through the darkest of days. This is a business that's not for the faint of heart. Being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. And if you have that North Star and you believe in what you're doing it for a reason and a purpose, and you get up every day and you know that's your reason for existing, that is very powerful stuff. And I think that's first and foremost. Ladder to Aylon's point, the complexities of this business. Sometimes to a consumer, it can look really Hollywood-esque and really fun, and branding and social media and all that. It is a real business with supply chains and operational uncertainty and inventory risk. And there is a ton that goes into getting products from the co-man to the consumer, just understanding that. And that's the last point. We live in a beautiful age today of technology where you can soak up so much information, and you can really deeply connect with people and learn from their mistakes, and use that to not only invigorate your mission, but arm you with weapons that fundamentally entrepreneurs from 20 years ago just didn't have. You had a phone. You didn't even have a cell phone then. So don't rush into something. Recognize that there is complexity to it. Recognize that if you marry education with a mission and a purpose, you're in a really good foundational point to go out and achieve. And then, to Aylon and Bernat's point, go big, leave nothing off the table. And that's what I'll say.
Great. We have our first audience question. If making a product that requires hiring scientists, etc., but often investors want a team that's already been established before funding, how would you go about escaping this vicious cycle?
Who's that for?
This is for any of you, anyone that has started a business that required potentially some R&D first before a product can be put to market. So
let me jump in on that quickly, because I've just gone through that with Noops. So fundamentally, if an investor comes to you and says to you that they need to see your team before they're going to give you money, there's a disconnect in terms of what are you missing as the founder? Do they not believe you have the expertise to carry this through? Do they not think that you have the ability to be an outsourced and nimble organization? And where is there a deficiency in communication that they think the only way you're going to succeed is if you're paying a food scientist $250,000 a year, right? So I would say on the one point is you really need to understand what the investor is trying to solve for. If they're asking you why you don't have a deep bench, there's probably something else that's underlying a concern to them. You can very much think through very quick and nimble ways, mostly economically driven, of why you can't afford to hire this early on. And then there's beneficial ways to build your team outside of having capital, whether it's options, whether it's numerous things you can do to get people in line. So for us, perfect example, we don't have full-time food scientists. We have a very deep food scientist bench, all ex P&G, Ben & Jerry's, deep domain in dairy alts, with the indulgence side. None of them are on the payroll of Noops. And we do that fundamentally for a reason. It is extremely expensive, and we can use a model of fractional involvement to get that expertise early on without having to have somebody full-time on an employee W-2 situation. So my advice would be to understand really what the investor is trying to solve for. Is it experience, or is it for the amount of money you're requesting? And if you are pre-revenue and you are requesting a ton of money, you better have a really good story about what you're going to do with that capital and why the investor should give it to you. So that's my advice.
What's your stance on using the word vegan in branding / marketing? Anybody have a stance on that?
Yeah. For example, we don't use it. We just use the V behind the packaging, but because we love data, and at the end we care about the mission, so we have to find the way, even though it's not the way you would do, but the way that helps the most people to be in the same boat. So vegan as a word, at least the data we have and the trials we made in restaurants, like we have a lot of data in restaurants in Spain, like brings a lot of people out of the equation. But when you use something like, I don't know, exciting terms, instead of saying vegan lasagna, you can say like, I don't know, crispy thing with tomato and grill something. And then it was, wow, that's for me. But vegan lasagna, maybe, yeah, sure. Like lasagna, but tasteless. Or like terms like plant-based, which is like well known, even though if it's an English term. And like something interesting also, like in restaurants and data we learned, it's not placing vegan options in a like green separated menu as many people do, like thinking they are very unique doing this and having these options, but in the middle of all the menu items, which makes a lot of people be part of this like list of items, but not just the green people, like they're like hippie style. They imagine like vegans coming to you to eat a green salad.
Great. We have a question that is asking each of you what your biggest fail in business has been. Maybe you can share.
Not firing fast. Not firing fast, I would say. Some people like not like believing in the gut feeling, I would say sometimes. And like, because Mark and me, we are both very like not young enough like anymore, but like, I mean, we started when we were 25, and sometimes you trust people that are like have a lot of experience, but your gut feeling says, no, like these people are not aligned with my values. Like they will destroy the mission, because they might know a lot about like food industry and like delivering products worldwide, but then if we lose the mission, we lose everything, because everything comes from this. So I would say not firing certain people like faster, and so the problem still small, because every day that you have someone that is not aligned with values, I think this is the biggest problem for startups.
Aylon, what has been your biggest fail?
Yeah, there's a funny failure story in Eclipse's early history, where we were gunning for this deadline to create our first commercialized product. We already had 2 partners signed up. It was Humphrey Slocum on the West Coast, very high-end ice cream shop, and Oddfellows on the East Coast, also very high-end kind of lord ice cream shop. And the idea was really to follow this Impossible Foods model of going to market with the best and the best to prove that our product really is the best of the best. And we were gunning for this deadline. The partners were waiting, and we were going to make this incredible ice cream mix. And we were running tests in an R&D facility. And we had run many tests, and we ran what we thought was our last batch, where we were like, yes, this is going to be it. And so anxiously, we're driving back. We have all the product in the car. None of this is sellable material, by the way. This was all R&D material. Bring back the product in the car, and anxious to test it over the next few days. And every day that went by, the product got thicker and thicker and thicker and thicker. And a few days in, we were like, oh my God, this is completely unusable. And a few days after that, we couldn't even get it out of the bag. It was so thick. We said, oh my God, like all of our work, it's like, we're not going to make this deadline. We made all these promises. What are we going to do? And luckily, Thomas, being a food expert, he actually figured out, like, oh wait, actually, this is kind of obvious, but it was so obvious that we didn't realize, right? We had replicated milk on a molecular level, and our product was acting like milk. And what had happened is there was lactobacillus in the air in the facility, and lactobacillus, for those who don't know, is a naturally occurring bacteria which is used to ferment different foods. So it's used to actually culture yogurt and cheese and all these different products. And what had happened is we got lactobacillus in the product and it turned into yogurt. And so we took a sigh of relief. We said, oh my God, this is actually validating one of our core claims, which is this product functions like dairy. We went back, we went to the production facility, which obviously has way tighter controls over what happens there. And the product was perfect. And we were able to launch in time and got a lot of press. And it was definitely a very kind of scary moment. But I think the failure and the learning is make sure you know what are the inputs that are going to impact your product, your business, your team, etc. Because if you don't know, then things could happen that you never even expect them to happen and get in your way.
You're going to find out.
You're going to find out.
Gregory, what do you got?
Yeah, I think it was echoed here by both gentlemen, but trust your gut, right? So no one's going to be closer to your business than you day in and day out, being the shepherd of your organization. And there's a very fine line that you need to do, and that's disseminate between internal and external. And that could be even as close as investors and what their needs and wants are versus what your true alignment is for the organization. It could be buyers and market. It could be people that have plans for you that don't necessarily align with your mission and vision. So I would always say, go back to your North Star, go back to your mission and vision, trust yourself, recognize that every day as founders, we're listening to so many voices in the room. And you have to be able to disseminate what is structurally aligned with where you're going and what your North Star is and what is just noise. You cannot ever be everything to everyone. And stay focused, stay the course. That's what I would say, definitely. And a big part of that is trusting the gut. And just to touch on one prior thing in terms of using the word vegan in branding and marketing, anyone who's inexperienced that's launching products to the market should absolutely invest in a regulatory review of their products, nutritionals, NFPs, packaging. It is a huge problem when you bring products to market and all of a sudden you get a knock from the FDA or USDA or someone saying that your packaging does not work for some reason. So you don't want to be in a situation where you're doing a recall or withdrawal because of packaging. So my advice to anybody is don't be a cowboy. Right? Recognize that if you're going to sell products to the U.S. Public, there are systems and designs you have to follow and adhere to. Sure, there's certain levels where some regulatory requirements are more stringent than others, but make sure you have somebody on your team that understands that. The minute you're moving out of the idea of giving mom your food that you made in your kitchen, and you're in a commercial grade facility, there's regulatory requirements. There's a ton of complexity that starts to come to play ultimately,
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Gentlemen, it's been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for joining us, Aylon, Bernat, and Gregory. You're welcome to join the social lounge afterwards and mingle with the attendees. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
I'll see you backstage.
Thanks so much, y'all.
Yeah. Bye-bye.